I think if we are fair to ourselves, it should happen. Producing quality graduates for the real market out there. There's always in this argument where industry is saying, oh, the students you're producing are not equipped for the market. One question I've always asked, and I've never got the chemical industry, the electrical industry, do we have an industry? Opportunity out there, because it seems as if we all go in there, do our marketing and HR, and then come out and hope that somebody will fit it in there somewhere. At the end of the day, university is supposed to help. Complaining about, and what are the universities? Fine guest, and we're going to attempt to find answers to this topic. Don't move, we're coming back. Very much for staying. Produce quality graduate for industry. What an important subject to talk about. And with me to try and find out what industry, how quality the graduates should be, sat directly next to me is Jocelyn Bachman, Director of Counseling and Placement, Central University of Ghana. What a very important job.
Well.
And my senior brother, Anis Haffa, passionate educationist, is here to see, what level of education we should have. But we all know there's a mismatch somewhere. But what is the mismatch? Not fit for the industry. I mean, what industry? Industries. They have the petrochemical, they have the mobile phones, they have the shipping industry. So I could go to school at any given time and say, well, I'm going to be a skin specialist for the shipping industry, or a welder, or so you have so many angles leading to that industry that I can go to school at any time and learn. Probably 80% guaranteed I'll fit in somewhere. If I were going to school in Ghana, where do I fit myself to make sure that when I come out, I can slot in somewhere?
Now that is the question. Now you mentioned Korea.
Yes, South Korea.
Well, one of the first things we have to begin to discuss is that they started off like us. So how did they become where they are? How did they get to where they are? And why are we where we are? Now, from the standpoint of education, though, I think the beginnings are very important, starting from the elementary schools. If employers tell you that the people who are coming in cannot add value to what it is that you're doing, that means we ourselves haven't added value to who we were right from the beginning. One of the things that I've noticed in this country is that we don't take elementary education, for example, seriously. In many places, frankly, if you go to Harvard Graduate School of Education, the instructors there will not tell you they have a PhD. They will tell you that I taught in a primary school. Than it is to be a medical doctor. Wow. And all of these. Now, we have to start at the beginning. Why is elementary education important? It's important, that's where that part of our education structure graduates, and that is why the school, that sort of thing. You throw children at them. people who are trained properly to raise people. And you'll be surprised that if you look at some of the greatest brains that have studied in the School of Education, these were people who were not teaching at the university levels. There are people like Piaget, the Swiss psychologist, people like Maria Montessori, John Dewey, B.F. Skinner. These were all people who were involved with children. And even as educators, is that the sense that here I am about 68 years old. How do I expect a kid who's 8 years old to understand me? That is assumed. Before, but they have not been where we are. So programs that I was involved with in the United States, and how we can begin to mold a particular character that will fit industry if so be, or they can fit any other areas where they can begin to exert themselves, have the confidence.
To hear your thoughts on this, because practically erased our basic education. If you're not fortunate for your father to take you to a dollarized school, then you've missed out on all these formative years. It's just in and out, in and out. Then we bring them to the university where you are, and because of lack of universities, so we've given you huge sizes. Lecturer has 200 people.
400 even.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who have missed out, majority of them have missed out on their basic. What does a lecturer do?
There are huge constraints. There are huge constraints. And I'll go back a bit to what Ernest said earlier, that in my day when I went to school, I went to the old system. So in Form 1, right from secondary school, you have teachers who are specialists in their field. You have a science teacher teaching you science. So you know that he's a graduate in science, and maybe he's done his postgraduate certificate, teaching qualification as well. At least he's got some specialists in that. But here, currently with the JHS, there's a lot of teachers we have a very shaky foundation. But then when they come to the university, and then I think I also said that as a country, I think we need a career center that people can, probably every region, every district, where people can walk in and at that JHS level discuss options that they might look at. Otherwise, people are focusing on a few attractive courses, maybe business, the accounting and those ones that are specialists, or you do science and you definitely must go to medical school. But really, what can you do with your courses, the combination based on what maybe you enjoy or where your strengths are? If there is a career center, you can walk in and discuss options, and you will find that you may not necessarily even need to go to the university. Maybe a polytechnic, or maybe a professional course. Probably you can do by distance or by self-teach. There are so many ways around it. Do you get me? But everybody is moving to the university because that's what it is. And unfortunately, now we have the graduates coming out in mass, so then we can't find jobs. I'll go back and do my back to the university. If, for instance, as you said, 200, really make an impact for 400 students. Then at that point, it's going to be very difficult to have interactive sessions. A student might pass through your class and you never know their name or even recognize them on the street because of the large class sizes. And they may not even be facilities. But the public universities are also constrained, because if you get a quota, you're told that this year you need to take 20%, 40% of students passing out of SHS. There isn't much options there for you as a public university. And so I think that's where then the private universities need to step in and do a bit more. So they shouldn't just mimic what the public universities are doing. They need to put in that interactive aspect. They need to do a lot more. That will attract more students wanting to go there. And then that will take the pressure off the public universities. Otherwise, currently as it is, everybody's come to a public university because, well, if I can do French here and I can do French there, or I can do law here and I can do law there, then why not go to the public university, which is cheaper, which has a name? But I think that the public universities that have come need to differentiate themselves. They need to come away from repeating exactly what public universities are doing, so that then we have a variety. They should do more of the professional courses, for instance, so that people can go into PR. Currently, if you want to do PR, maybe you may need to go to GIJ or AUCC, or maybe one or two dotted around that, you know, don't come off easily. But if they are going into more of the professional courses, then the focus won't be on, I just want to go to a known university, because you know you have a career path that you're following. But the lecturers, I think, I like to commend them. I know, yes, we bash them all the time. But if you're actually there and you sit in a class and see how many, and even sometimes not all students have seats, and not all chairs, even when you speak, you don't have a PA system. And so you're trying to shout at the top of your voice for 400 students to hear you. Then, to some extent, considering also the shaky foundation, they struggle. But that doesn't mean to say we need to sit on our oars, because we are dynamic and they need to keep moving as well.
But you're a counselor, so I mean, I don't know if you do, but you know, 21-year-old comes in and says, look, I'm quite brainy, but I don't know what to do. I mean, how do you then direct them to industry? Because you probably are not aware. I mean, where is the industry? The telecoms are full. The mines are full. You know, Zoomlion is not hiring anymore. I mean, so what do you tell the student to do?
Well, first of all, we'll discuss their options with them. Sometimes we like to encourage them to follow something that comes naturally to them, rather than just following what everyone thinks will pay. And so once we've done that, we discuss options. Where can you find some of these? Is it a professional course or is it a job? You might start with an internship. You know, somebody came to me a couple of weeks ago and said, so I think I want to do something media. I said, okay, talk to these stations. And then I might even call them if we have partners. I might call here and say, oh, I have this person. Do you want to meet her and see what you can do for them? And so through that, some of them get internship, and then they get to know more whether they want to stay in there. But now also as a center, we realize that there aren't that many jobs. And so somebody might be fully qualified, very well, very employable, but there aren't that many jobs. So then the challenge now is for us to look at entrepreneurship options. And so I'm quite excited to be here, because tomorrow we have a group of students that we call the Enterprise Zone, those who have business ideas from across various disciplines. We're bringing them together with industry practitioners, and then they will help them prepare the business proposal. They will help them couch their idea, make it more attractive for an investor or for, you know, mentoring and all that. So we realized that, yes, we have to do more than just the normal academics that was happening in the past. Because if we want our students to compete and to find somewhere, then we will have to help them find jobs. If they can't find jobs, then help them create jobs. So that's what we're doing, yeah.
Well, let me go back to our senior teacher. Is there any way we can make our education a bit more practical? Because I think the general complaint, I mean, everybody I spoke to today about what I was going to talk about realized that it was just almost like 95% theoretical. In the book. And some of the books are not even, you know, were not based on today, far back. Can we make it a bit practical? And considering the class sizes, is it manageable to make it practical, or you are stuck to the books?
They are, you know, if you have 400 students in your class, that's manpower. You see, I mean, you spoke about the private schools taking on particular responsibilities, but I think the public universities need to reinvent themselves. Because what they do now, when they were set up in 1947, is very different from what is needed. So the onus is on them. I mean, they've been in this business for too long. If young people are not getting jobs, then the question is this: what do we do now? That is the question. Because we cannot use that as an excuse and brush off a whole bunch of young people who have potential. So now what should the public schools do? Public universities. Now remember, when we talk about university education, we are looking at the cream of the crop. We have 240,000 young people in our tertiary institutions. What are they doing? And invariably, they are doing this thing that you're talking about, the chew, pour, pass business, which I wrote about a couple of weeks ago. And let me tell you an experience that I had in a public university. I don't want to mention the name. I was there to do a presentation on adding value to Ghana's national resources and inputs. You won't believe this. You know how they talk about there's no building, there's no PA system. This university had all of that. But what were they doing with it? I'm telling you, there was a class that was full of people. There were lights, windows, ventilation, everything else. And I could hear, when I parked my car, I could hear someone speaking on a PA system. Frankly, I thought he was a preacher. The person was a preacher. But when I looked through the window, this person was dictating notes at the university level. Now, the last time the notes were dictated to me was when I was in class 3, when I was about the age of 10. And what the teacher was looking for, handwriting, punctuation, and spelling. And we are doing this to university students. How do you expect them to get a job after this? So the question is this: how on earth do we learn to empower people so that they are skillful in their own right? And again,
let me.
Okay.
You see, if you don't reproduce what the teacher gave you, you're marked down. And so the notes that they're dictating to you is exactly what you need to put about the functions and the characteristics of whatever it is that the topic is.
The advantages and disadvantages. But that is how, when the universities have to, the public universities, especially the large ones, have to reinvent themselves, they have to take that into consideration that they are doing a great disservice not only to the students, to the country at large. And it's very disappointing that in this day and age with technological advances, digital equipment and that sort of thing, and we are still doing the things that I was doing in the 1950s, that doesn't make sense. And it's unfortunate. I mean, my beef is this. We've tried to go and teach in any of these universities and see. You need loads and loads of qualifications so that they can give you loads and loads of titles. But what do you do with these things? But again, the university rebranding themselves is key in this, in the sense that they have to lead the revolution to start jobs in this country. And how do we do that? We have over 200 districts in this country. Every district in Ghana is endowed. In fact, there are some districts that are oozing with gold, which we don't even know how to harvest. Now, if you go to an archaeology department, for example, in a public university, you know all the rocks, igneous rocks, sedimentary and all of that. The people who come here to mine the gold don't even know what rocks are, because we have memorized them, but they are practical. So the issue now, what the universities have to do now, and they have to be very proactive about this, is to begin to understand the endowments in each of the regions in this country and see how they can equip themselves to teach young people how to add value to those inputs. Unless they do that, I mean, if you have 400 persons in your classroom and all you do is talking to them, that is not education. That is a passive form of activity. What about putting them in places where they can be of use to themselves, or how we can even get the students themselves? That look, there are no jobs now. There are particular districts. Where would you fit in the scheme of things? We have to begin to rebrand even the instructional strategies themselves. Now, the other thing I also want to say is this. Let's say you have 400 students. For me, the numbers are great because that's manpower. What are they doing? And I'll give another example. Look at some of the universities that I've seen, the public universities, I don't like to mention names, they are all sitting in dust. Why? And we have 400 students sitting in classroom listening to notes. It doesn't make sense. You go to the bathrooms, there's no water to flush. But once I was there, the water in the chamber was broken, the water was gushing everywhere, and nobody gave a hoot. But right across the road, Faculty of Applied Sciences, what are they doing there? We are raising our young people to be passive. That is my point. But there's no reason on earth why, knowing that there are no jobs, and we have the largest man-made lake in the world here. I've
got Mr. Kwame Date on the phone, Executive Secretary, National Accreditation Board. Mr. Date, you're welcome.
Thank you.
We've got into a very crucial point. So you come in, you're literally God sent. Because my question is, what do you look at before you give accreditation to university? Because here we are all complaining that the products coming out of the university are not, well equipped for industry. They chew, pour, pass, and forget. They're dictating lectures. I mean, do you go then and ask them, listen, what formula are you going to use to teach? Or you just look at the buildings and say, well, it looks decent enough. There you go. What do you do to give accreditation to? these schools?
Well, I think there is a fundamental misunderstanding about what university education is about.
Mm-hmm.
If we are trying to link education to industry, then let's look at the particular tertiary education institution we are talking about.
Okay.
Are we talking about a university? Are we talking about a polytechnic? Are we talking about the nursing training colleges? Are we talking about the colleges of education?
Mm-hmm.
You see, the colleges of education, polytechnics, nursing training are specialized in tertiary education institutions that train students for particular fields. When you talk about university education, you are giving a universal education. We don't have anything called Ghana-specific university. University education is supposed to train the mind so that you can fit into any particular situation you are put into. So when we talk about the Nation Link, there is no particular industry. There are several industries. So are you expecting that when somebody goes to University of Ghana, he should be able to work at Toyota Ghana and then work at the other industries like the chemical industries or oil and gas industry or what?
Well, but
we don't have that. University education is broad knowledge. Then it's industry.
Well, industry is saying that their knowledge is not broad enough to be hired.
You saying the knowledge is not broad enough?
Well, not me. I mean, that's the general complaint from industry, not me personally. I'm just
and I'm saying that it is a fundamental flaw.
Okay.
There is a fundamental flaw in that argument.
Okay.
What does industry itself want? They should identify what they want.
Well, maybe people who can, learn to learn.
Yes. So if you employ the person, then you train the person on what the person is supposed to do.
Well, but if the person turns up and, some people, I'm not saying they are not trainable, but maybe some people, instead of a 2 months training, they look like they need an 8 months training. And therefore, from the industry side, it may be a bit frustrating thinking from where you've come out of school, you should have supposed to pick this up in 2 months and not 8 months, maybe.
Yes, I perfectly understand what you are saying. But what I'm saying is that industry itself must come out with the specific things that are lacking in those they employ and communicate that to the educational institutions. But everybody is making a general complaint. Have they told you specifically what the people they employ lack?
Well, did you want to ask?
Yes.
Yeah, hold on. I have Jocelyn Bachman, who's the Director in Counseling and Placement for University of Ghana. So she has a question for you.
Well, it's more of a comment as in, I'm not sure if it's a question, but basically what I wanted to say is, every year at the University of Ghana, we've started, this is the second year, where we have the Industry Academia Forum. So we bring key industry players, HR directors, we bring Ghana Employers Association, AGI members, so that we can jojo, including our executives of the university, and then discuss what can be done to make sure that that gap is bridged. And then once you've done that, we put that in a document. And so you find that it's not just from the university side. There are policy makers that, on our list, we have policy makers that need to make an input. There are also even industry players themselves. We need them, for instance, one of the issues that came up was we need them to make an input in the curriculum. So if we are designing a marketing course, for instance, they need to make an input. If we are designing accounting, whatever it is, they need to make an input. And we also need them not just to make an input in the curriculum, but sometimes even with the teaching. Sometimes when you call them, they seem, we're so busy. But can you give us a couple of hours, come and talk to us on this topic and how it's applied in industry, so that students can conceptualize it better in the sense that it's not just from the book, but in real world, this is how it happens. We need to work with them. And when you go elsewhere, especially in the developed world, they do that a lot. And it forms part of the industry's sort of contribution and even corporate social responsibility. And in some places, you might even get tax incentives. So that came up that can we get them, to then be offered tax incentives? So then that is where policymakers come in. And then there's also the other side where, for instance, for national service, does national service work with industry to make sure that, because it's actually supposed to be the bridge so that they have a year of getting the practical knowledge. Does national service work with industry? They just post you and you go and that's it. Whether the person has learnt anything or hasn't, we don't know. That's why they will say we'll go and buy Wache or Kofi Brookman, because nobody is actually taking care of them. But I think that's when national service also as an institution needs to work with industry. So you realize that there's a lot of interconnection and we cannot lay the blame on just one person's doorstep. All these players need to be considered, and that's why I think we need a broader framework where we all meet and draw a plan that will feed into what Ghana has. And then with that, we can probably get a better response.
Anis, I'm going to bring you in, but I'm going to read a comment here from Mutawakilu, right? And it says, this reminds me of what my father told me, that those days when a person completes JHS, the person can do carpentry and also repair electrical gadget as well. But now somebody completes tertiary and can do nothing. It's good we as a nation revisit some of the curricula used in the past. The reason why I'm bringing you this and this comment is that Mr. Date Sitting seems to agree with me that industry is complaining that students coming out were not fully equipped. Is it just something we are just saying, or is it real?
You know, we can pass the buck. When Americans pass the buck, what they mean is that you are not carrying on some of our responsibilities, you are passing it on to somebody else. But in school management, you know, if you look at how we're going to manage tertiary education in the past, the education leaders have to take it upon themselves to begin to associate properly with what the industry needs. Industry will not come to you, you know, because they think that you need them more than they do. But then the universities themselves have to be proactive. That where are the industries, and begin to understand exactly what the industry is, and especially the future of that industry. Those are the things that we have to do. We have to be proactive. But we don't sit down and think the industry is going to come to you. If the industry were going to come to you, they would have come a long time ago. That's one way to look at it. The other way we have to also look at it in terms of how we raise young people who are functional. These people who are functional have to be raised by other people who are functional, so that we want to emulate them. The academics, you know, the universities are packed with academics, and we're talking about training the mind. We need to train the mind, but training the hands helps the training of the mind. Those two have to be put together. If you look at the Montessori system, for example, they are training the mind, but they are training the mind through the hands. We need to rebrand education, even in terms of the structural strategies and the people who are qualified to teach our young people. Now, the other thing that we also want to bring into academia is that the people who teach themselves have to be inspired. I mean, how do you teach me to be inspired when you yourself are not inspired? You know, inspiration works two ways. And part of being inspired is really being on your feet to go to the industry, to look at what it is that they want, and then bring that to bear with your student and say, this is how these people want, how are we going to do it? We have an African problem. The African problem is this. The teachers tend to be a bit too chauvinistic. They think they know too much, that others can't even challenge them. But this is the day where students have to be in lockstep with exactly what is happening in the 21st century. These are the new things that we need to incorporate into our university so that we are not doing the 1947 thing in 2015.
Let me go to Mr. Dat. Mr. Dat, can you walk us through what it takes to get accreditation for a tertiary, institute?
Well, I can walk you through, but let me respond to a few of the issues raised.
Sure.
When you go to Germany, for instance, they have various types of universities. They have University of Applied Sciences, they have technical universities, and they have the classical universities. What we are operating here is the classical university.
Okay.
I don't see how anybody going to read sociology will then learn some carpentry or learn some masonry because he wants to be employed. If you want to learn masonry or you want to learn carpentry, you know where to go. That is the polytechnic. If you won't go there and you want to go to the classical university, then that is where your mind will be trained. And we wouldn't. How can you say that because I need employment when I go to the university, they should add carpentry and this thing to or welding to whatever I'm learning? Now, back to your question, to what we look for as education.
Very good.
Yeah, there we have the institutional accreditation, we have the program accreditation.
Okay.
For the institutional accreditation, we look at things like the physical facilities, that is the structures you have put up, the things that go with the teaching and learning process. We look at the staffing. We look at the library facilities, the financial sustainability, etc. And these are done by experts in the field. For instance, the physical facilities, we have architects, and we have a code or the standards, which they go and look at the safety measures which have been put in place, the disability-friendly nature of the building.
I was just going to say that, because I know quite a few that don't have any disabled access whatsoever, and yet still classes are held on the 4th floor.
Yes, please. There is a law that gives a transitional period. For instance, even our established universities, how many of them have disability-friendly facilities? But there is a law that has given, I think, up to 2016, that people should put in mechanisms. So the new ones come in, we make sure that they have those facilities in place. But for the older ones, they have to comply with the law when it comes into effect.
Okay.
Yes, so those are for
Even though I still disagree, because there are a few good, there are some new ones that don't have it. So I still disagree with you on that. But they are all accredited.
There's a point that I wanted to raise here. I mean, when we are looking at the requirements, we're talking about physical infrastructure. I mean, this is one way to look at it. But we also need to look at the cognitive infrastructure.
You know, he's going there. There are two.
Right, okay.
So there are 2 accreditations, and he's talking about the fiscal. So we walked us through the fiscal. Now, the other side.
We are going to the program accreditation now.
Yeah.
Yes. For the program accreditation, we look at the curriculum you are going to operate, whether they conform to certain standards, acceptable standards. We look at the staffing, whether the people are qualified. For instance, if you are operating a department, you must at least have 3 full-time qualified staff, one of whom should be of the senior lecturer status to offer some academic and administrative and research leadership. We look at the accessories you have for the teaching and learning process. For instance, the library books. If you are operating computer science, what is in the computer lab? The state of the state of the computers you have in those computer labs, etc. So these things are done by experts in the field. We commission them to go and have an assessment and produce a report to the board. The report is submitted to the institution for their comments. And if there are any identified deficiencies, they are asked to address them.
Okay.
Before the accreditation is considered. So that goes for the program accreditation.
Well, thank you very much for, at least we are armed now. Thank you very much, Mr. Kwame Datte. I'm going to take a break now, and then when we come back, the debate continues. How do we make our graduates good quality staff for the industry? We're coming back. Very much for staying, and thank you for putting your comments on Facebook. Put your more comments in, and I will read it. Benafax says both the tertiary and the graduate students are not acquiring primary skills from course areas, rather how to pass tertiary exams for the certificate. Industry now needs solution providers, not think there was something good about the old system that we need to go to. However, the advanced countries have also shown the old system and have found a new one that they are attached to. So where is that idea coming from? Kwesi Boateng says modern day education in Ghana Data Credit Polytechnic and UCC graduates. Let me say, what everybody says, no, go back because the old system was good. However, you and I are saying that, look, the old system of teaching is not bad. We need to move ahead. So where are we getting it wrong?
Well, the old system had a commitment to it. The old system was archaic in terms of the lack of technology or digital infrastructure. So there's that part. But there's also a certain kind of commitment. I mean, if I look at the school that I went to as a secondary school, my goodness, all the teachers were committed. We didn't have absenteeism and that sort of thing. And there was also discipline. So these are things that we need to be incorporated in the system. And like I said earlier, the teachers too were inspired. So who were inspired? We saw that there was a purpose to education. Now, anytime I hear this business about teaching the mind or the classical kind, maybe it's time to change the classical kind. I mean, if you look at what Lee Kuan Yew says, this Singapore is different. So we are not going to copy other people's, we are not going to make photocopies of other people's systems. We are going to create something that is peculiar to us. What is more peculiar to Ghana as a developing country? And development partners, let's use this. Ghana was the same system that is we have now, the how do you call it, the classical method. What's the classical method doing for or people who are teaching the universities? So we need now people who are application-oriented, people who are maintenance-oriented. This is what the country needs. So we have to begin to rebrand that our focus is warped. We have to begin to look at the 21st century, and especially what is peculiar to Ghana, so that we mold our education system according to what we need. Classics, and we read the books later in our bedrooms. Let's see what we have to do now.
Jocelyn, you may face this. You see, we have an industry that's very obsessed with certificates. We have an industry that won't come and put any input into what's going on, and the same industry will say, no, you don't have any experience, so I'm not going to hire you. That's a deadlock.
Yeah, that's a deadlock, and for me, especially from where I sit, I feel it every day because I approach a lot of companies saying, can we get input from you? For instance, internship, or even as we say, some of our sessions, we're trying to develop soft skills for the students. And they're all thinking, no, I'm too busy, I haven't got time. We cannot do this, we cannot do that. And so when later on they come back and say the students are not employable, I'm saying you could have given them internship. You could have helped them with mentoring. You could have made an input, even in the curriculum, or even in the classroom when things are being taught. What is industry doing? So I have a problem when industry keeps complaining, because when we invite them, yes, we have some good ones that will come, I must admit. But generally, a lot of them think they're too busy to be wasting their time on students. It's like they're just crisscrossing their path. I'm busy thinking about a project, about this and that. And so we need industry to do more. We need industry to get more involved. In Japan, I mean, the universities, most of the lecturers are actually practitioners. And then they go and,
that is the point.
So if you have these practitioners coming in more to teach, even if on part-time basis for a couple of hours a week. I know some of them do it, but we are not getting much when they come in. And because most of the time get committed and make a difference. For me to cry out to industry and say, please, let's do the partnerships. Come to us, or when we come to you, open your doors for us, and let's get our students, the opportunities they need to know what is actually happening in industry before they graduate. So that when they come to you after graduation, they are in a position to contribute to your success as a business.
The other point I'll also add is this. Every business wants to grow. Every industry wants to grow. How are the investors going to help them to grow? You see, you don't want to come in needy. That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
Anytime someone knocks on the door because they need something, say, my friend, I'm too busy to fulfill your needs. But then we have to reverse the psychology and begin to understand the industry itself and see how we can be of help to the industry by adding value to where they are. They will listen to you. you know, we have to come from a position of strength. But if you're going to knock on the door begging people to do things, even the element of begging itself, I don't want our students to go through that because it's demeaning in a way. Again, you are talking about the soft skills, you know, in psychology, what we call the affective competencies. Look, part of the education structure itself is this. How do we handle a young person's curiosity? Have we considered that before? How do we begin to know what it is that makes a person tick? Rather than, and then, you know, everybody wants certificates. That's fine. But there have to be curricular objectives that have to be met before that certificate is issued. The kids who come to Legon, I mean, they are ready. It's how we mold them. If they want a certificate, so be it. But what are the standards by which they can get those certificates? Are they going to listen to lectures and then take true and false and multiple choice and so on? That is a waste of human capacity. These are the things that we want to begin to look at. I look at young Ghanaian people, and they are so full of promise. But by the time they've been processed through a 4-year system of sitting, listening, and passing notes and so on, their wings are clipped. So what I keep saying is this. Again, Nana, going back to the old way, Kwegyir Aggrey in 1925, he said, look, don't tell me what you know. Show me what you can do. And this has been from 1925. The same thing exists now, that don't tell us what the university students are supposed to know about the mind. We want to know what they can, show us what they can do. Because what they can do invariably defines the kind of mind that you have. We are turning things upside down. We are wasting the young people in this country who have great potential because we are going by the standards that are not working for the 21st century. So what we have to do is begin to look at it. We have to rebrand education in terms of the quality of a young person that we expect after they've been with us for 4 years. You know, what is the point? For example, so you bring someone to you for class 1 to class 3 and they can't read. Who caused it? Is it because the kid is stupid? It's methodology by which young people are raised in this country. These are the issues that have to be addressed.
Yeah, so let me just chip in here. That's why then we're saying that we need a partnership. Because if, for instance, industry comes in and says, I have a problem in this area, look into it for me. Do a proper research, a qualitative research or a quantitative, whichever one that is more applicable, and give me feedback on what my company needs to do to excel. What are the trends? What is happening, you know, or what do you anticipate to happen in the next 10 years? Where is business headed so that we can start tailoring our business towards that end? So you realize that that's when we're asking for the partnership. So that, yes, in that case, you can even put one of our students on that project and say, my sales have dropped in the last 6 months. Try and find out, go to the root and find out what's happening. So that you put them on. And then it's not just what they are learning in the classroom, but you've put them on a project to help solve the problem. So we need industry to also come to us and say, oh, well, or when we come back and when we come to them to say that these are issues we need you to help us deal with.
There's a missing link here. Industry is suspicious of academia.
Exactly.
Let me tell you that straight out.
That is exactly where the problem is.
I don't want people knocking on my door. You know, when I know that at the end of the day, the young people that they are producing is full of academics. That in itself is unattractive.
So I want you to add to it. Can we change from this pure writing and, you know, arithmetic and to that practical?
Yes,
is it possible?
Yeah, we can change it. And let me tell you one of the things that universities can do. For example, you know that the students are coming to you in the high school. Okay, we need to be able to assess at that point exactly how they are being taught, and again, not monitor but be supportive in terms of what it is that you need them to be ready for. You know, these kinds of alliances have to kick in. But again, in the long run, for a country as rich as Ghana is one of the richest pieces of real estate in the world. I'm telling you, we have everything. But then we have a place like South Korea that doesn't have anything, but they have a Samsung because they think. We have Finland that doesn't have anything. Half of the time the land is frozen, but they have the Nokia, which brought in as much money as our gold, timber, bauxite, and all of that put together. How come we are not thinking that way? And for Ghana, the critical thing we have to do is that how do we add value to our inputs?
But are you allowed to think in Ghana?
We should be thinking like that. No. Why not?
No, but you are not allowed to think.
Even as a child, you are not challenged to investigate.
But what I'm saying is this. Look, the other thing too is that we tend to, you see, again, we have the African problem. It's where I'm saying that a lot of our lecturers and professors are chauvinistic because they think they know better than everybody else. But my goodness, you might know 99% better than everybody else. But the slippery slope is that 1% that you don't know. That's how there has to be a collegial relationship between our students. We cannot talk at them. And I've noticed it, and I've noticed this because I've taught in other places. But Annie, we have to begin to bring them in as part of the team that is making things happen.
Is that not what the African education was? That, you know, you're going to be, taught to become an administrator, and therefore this was your lot. You know, don't give me I thought. This is it. It's A, B, C, D.
You know, that's when we needed people for the civil service. That's when we needed people for the administrative positions that were available when the white folks left. Those niches are filled already.
But
so we need a new kind of thinking where we put the young people at the forefront of what education is supposed to be. You know, let me tell you what is happening. We are teaching people from the standpoint of who the professors are. We have to do the reverse. We have to teach them from the standpoint of what those kids can be. See, that's the difference. They have jobs. These kids don't have jobs. And we are pretending that we're going to train them the way we were trained to get that kind of job that they do now. And a lot of the jobs are obsolete. We have to begin to look at that. The last point I want to make is this. I remember, when I was in college in 1972, we're using, those days we were using Fortran, COBOL, and punch cards and that sort of thing. And it was very difficult. I went back to graduate school in 1984. Bill Gates, Uncle School died in his life. Let me not exaggerate that. He doesn't have half a degree. Has been able to change things. Now, when I went back to graduate school in the 1980s, now guess what? A lot of the professors who were obsolete in their methodology have come back to retool for the modernity. These are the things that we want to do. You'll be surprised the number of courses that are being taught now that are obsolete. They are of no use to the kids, but they're being forced to study those things. These are the things that we have to begin to consider.
Just another thing that industry complains about is that, they are just doing somebody's learning to be a librarian, or somebody's learning sociology, or somebody's learning, and we can't seem to place a lot of value on certain subjects. Should we say, well, in that case, maybe looking at Ghana now, we should leave these subjects and probably, go this way?
I think that the problem is a lot of the maybe courses haven't been practicalized enough. Mm-hmm. For instance, yes, as you're saying, the librarian or archival, it's now info studies, information studies. Every office, I was saying earlier to Famous, that every office has information, documents. Are they being kept right? Or do we need these people to come in? So I think that what they might do is maybe once a week or once a month, these students should have that link with industry where they go as part of, as part of their course. That is not just in a classroom, but you should prove on paper that you went to categorize or classify the information for this office or for that institution. So that gradually we realize that link, and I keep coming back to the link, that it's not just teaching in isolation. But
who has to do this initiation? Is it industry or academia?
The other thing is this. Okay, now we've spoken about industry, we've spoken about academia. Let's even look at government itself. Mm-hmm. You're talking about digitization. We have young people who are studying computers. Can they develop templates? And for example, now the professors should lead this thing and go to a particular department. And I've seen these. If you go to a Ministry of Education, for example, in the districts where I've taught, my goodness, paper is rampant, it's everywhere else. So why is that not being incorporated into the curriculum itself? So that, forget about industry for a minute. Let's say, for example, we have students who have gone to modernize one of our smallest clinics. Mm-hmm. From there, they've gone to another polyclinic and modernize it, and so on. Now, when you go to industry, the student that to present to industry is someone who has been able to accomplish A, B, C, and D. Now they'll listen to you.
Yeah, but so what I'm saying is collaboration is also needed.
But this collaboration is with. Look at the government. Let's look at government, for example. The government is the biggest employer and also one of the most ineffective organizations that we have.
The Minister of Education says that our education system is such that by the time you go through it, you're diseducated. She said this on the morning show. And I kept hammering to see if somebody would react to it, because I think it was literally a prophecy or very profound, that our system is such that by the time you go through it, you're diseducated.
Now, let me tell you how that happens. Now, check this. In class 1, you are sitting behind a desk. From one, you are sitting behind a desk. At the university level, you are sitting behind a desk. For 16 years, a human being has been sitting behind a desk and learned to be passive. We are creatures of habit. You have to understand that. And suddenly you release such a person in industry to be productive, or you pass on all that responsibility to industry to get this person to unlearn their habits. That's asking too much. So what I'm saying is this, right from the beginning, this sit and copy business has to stop. Even the lecturing has to stop. I mean, when I teach at the tertiary level, the most difficult thing for me to do is the beginning when I'm drawing instructional activities. What are the kids going to do? That is the point. That's the most difficult thing. After that, they will teach one another. Because what you do is that you rotate the responsibilities so that instead of me lecturing and lecturing and lecturing, let the young people do the lecturing. Let's go and find out their own sources of information. Because now it's easier than ever. In our time, information was sacrosanct. You would never get it. Now you press a button, you've got everything else. So why are we still lecturing? That's one way to look at it. The other thing too.
Let them find it. Let me. I have only 1 minute left, so let me bring Jocelyn here. But tomorrow is a very important day. Is it entrepreneur
Enterprise Zone, yes.
Enterprise Zone.
Yes.
Is it open to all or just?
Well, we're starting with our students because they are the ones we know. So those who have business ideas and need the mentoring, they need advisors, professionals, practitioners to help them change that idea, make it more concrete. Then we'll help them develop their plan, a business plan, a proposal, all the paperwork that they need to put forward to get the business going. And then the areas they need to look at, the legal framework, the marketing, whatever support they need, they'll be given hopefully by our partners. Because we have Akoma, for instance, at UT. Okay. They are coming in to help us, and then 3DS. So with expertise, they are helping us put these ideas into good use. And I think that our students are going to benefit. And hopefully we'll be reducing graduate unemployment because by the time they graduate,
with dodgy ages, they are 80 years and still showing 58. Go and learn how to create your own business. Ali Hassan Sabito says we still have a lot of work to do as human resources to solve the challenges of today. When the box. I opine we do away with this bookish system and embrace more practical cores that are relevant to solve the challenges of today. I want to say a big thank you to Famous Azalu directing, Famous producing, Nico